Thanks for tuning into our seller interview series. Up today, we've got an Amazon FBA business for sale in the health niche. Created in June 2015, this business makes just over $7,000 per month in net profit, and the listing number for the site is 40460. Now, we do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the sites they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making your buying decision. We've got the seller with us today to go through everything in the business, cover everything from niche selection to traffic and monetization, and why he chose an Amazon FBA business. Mark, thanks so much for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you so much, Justin. Appreciate it.
All right, man, let's do a rundown of the business. It was built in June 2015. As I mentioned, it's an Amazon FBA business. The monthly revenue on this is $15,589 a month. That's a 3-month average. You've got expenses coming in at $8,928 a month for a net profit of $6,661 a month. Again, a 3-month average. This sale includes the Amazon account. It's include the brand trademark, images, and the listing. It also includes supplier contact information, e-commerce site that you've built, social media, and a registered customer list. So you have it all put together. This is a nice package for someone looking to get into an Amazon FBA business, but also dabble with or try to expand on the e-commerce route. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. One of the things that I felt was important as we moved through this is Amazon is a great launching point for businesses to get up and running, generate some revenue, but you're going to want to expand your profile beyond Amazon itself. You're going to want to build your own foundation and your own site, build out secondary channels. And so when I put this business together, I wanted to make sure that we not only had a successful and profitable Amazon side, but that we also had the foundation and the beginnings of what you could do on your own platform.
So when you originally built this, you were planning on expanding in the e-commerce, or along the e-commerce route to diversify a bit, probably better margins. Like, is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's risk mitigation. So Amazon is a great platform for people, but it has its risks because it's their sandbox. They own it. And, quite often when people don't play in the right format, they get penalized somehow. And so you want to be able to mitigate risk, across your business. That's just good business practice. But with Amazon FBA, that's definitely something you'd want to do.
Awesome, Mark. And we're going to get into kind of the opportunities for this business. We're going to talk about some of the risks a little later. Before we do that, can you tell me a little bit about your background in kind of building and running online businesses? I mean, how did you get into the online business world?
So I've done a lot of work over the past 20 some odd years in my career. I'm an entrepreneur, really, but I've worked in and out of private organizations. I've started and sold about a half dozen businesses. Half are high tech, the other half have been healthcare, and a couple e-commerce, and this is one of those e-commerce sites. And moving into this particular business here, my intent was it would be for sale. And so I went into it with a mindset that I wanted to have it be a growth potential for it, also be very stable, and have a lot of opportunities for who would be picking it up.
How exactly did you come up with the niche? We're not going to share the exact thing that you're selling here, but did you find it and start offering it? Did you check out the market first and see an opportunity? How'd you pick it?
Well, so one of the critical things, especially on Amazon, or really any product in general, is the selection process. And the selection process ensures that you're finding not only demand, but you have depth of the market so that in a competitive environment, you can still garner sales. And so it took me several months to find the right niche that I was going after. And when I did some testing on it, looked at the depth of the market, other potential competitors in there, looked like a great opportunity, and it's done very well.
Is this a product that you found already being manufactured overseas and you just kind of stamped your business on it or your trademark on it or your label, or was it something you had custom designed?
This is an existing one that I found, but what I was able to do is not just put a sticker on it or something like that. I was actually able to put proprietary designs as well as our trademark and other things. So it is very unique from that perspective. And to take it a step further, I have worked with the manufacturer, and we do have a design for a unique mold that is an extension brand off of this that any potential buyer could take and run with.
Awesome. Okay, so you've got it. It's basically white labeling right now, but you do have a unique style that you were looking to launch, but you're selling the business, so that'll be handed over to the new buyer, obviously. Let's talk a little bit about why you're selling the business. I mean, you built it in June 2015. We're not even a year in. Why don't you just keep it for another year, a couple of years?
Well, after being 20 plus years into my career, I like launching, growing, and then selling. I don't particularly like the long-term management of organizations. I've done it. It's not something I particularly enjoy, but I do like the entrepreneurial startup and go. And so that's what I've settled into.
It's exciting, right? Like it's more exciting to kind of get started building the businesses, and then I feel your pain there. Sometimes I get a little bored when you're just like kind of doing the work and everything's kind of like running. It starts to feel more like a job than like you're building something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, a lot of people like the stability and running a business, and some people are very good at that. And for myself, I'm very antsy, and sometimes it's a curse. I mean, people who are entrepreneurs understand that having that entrepreneurial drive can sometimes be a curse because it just pushes and pushes and pushes you. But, I just kind of go with it. I enjoy it. The stress of it is actually encouraging for me, and that's why I go that route.
What do you plan to do with the money when you sell? You're going to reinvest in another business? Are you going to stick with Amazon FBA? What's the plan?
Yeah, I'll be reinvesting in other businesses, and it will be Amazon FBA again. It's a great platform, wonderful opportunities there. You have to know the business. There's tremendous ramp up and understanding of the learning curve that's there, but the opportunities are still there, and so I plan to go through this and do it again.
Tell me a little bit about when you were starting out building this business. Were there any particular tools you used? Were there any paths you can take via Amazon FBA that were helpful in terms of training materials?
So there are wonderful materials online. There are a lot of folks out there who are peddling classes and courses and whatnot, and any or all of them have a great amount of knowledge in them that's worthwhile. But there are wonderful free resources as well. You can find some great groups on Facebook, great podcasts that you can download that will take you and bring you up to speed on what you need to do. And there's launch formulas that you can follow. Really, if somebody's interested in FBA and doing it themselves, they can learn and they can take themselves through it, but you actually have to go through the process, do it, launch a product to get the full effect and understand what you're doing.
Yeah, there's no supplement for actually doing the work, right? Once you get in, get your hands dirty, you start to get a feel for it. And a lot of those training materials tend to make a lot more sense, right, when you're in it.
Yeah, they really do. But what a lot of people want is, they want to have a business that they can just run. But it's that launch phase, it's a potential failure, it's navigating all the ins and outs and the things they didn't expect that really shy people away from doing it. But and that's kind of why I did what I did here. I've got the product up, it's running, it's successful, and I can just hand it over to somebody that doesn't want to have to go through that learning curve, and then they can move forward with something that works.
Okay, so you found the niche and then you reached out to a manufacturer. I mean, how big was your first order?
So you'll find that with any kind of manufacturing, there's minimum order quantities you deal with, and with my manufacturer, I deal with 1,000 as a minimum order quantity at a time, and that's on a per design as part of my brand extension. And I've been able to get them down to 500 based on different designs because I test designs, and I'm able to pick winners from that and let losers kind of die out through inventory depreciation and then go from there.
Let's talk a little bit about the trajectory of the business. So if you launched in June 2015, was it an immediate hit? Like, were you making good money in July, or was it kind of a slower burn?
Actually, I was making money the next month, and it picked up and continued to pick up. And as I introduced, new products as part of the brand extension, they just kept on. I got that acceleration going, and it was great. It was great to see. And what it proved to me are a couple things. One of the difficulties in Amazon FBA and your product selection is avoiding things like seasonality of your products, unless that's what you want to do. And a lot of people, if they're smart, will they go after seasonality, will decide, I'll pick a product in my product line that's great for summer, and I'll pick another one that's great for winter. And that way they have product sales all during the course of the year. But if you're picking one product and it's stuck on a seasonality, either summer or winter, then what are you going to do the rest of the year? Now, this particular product does not suffer from any seasonality. It is a constant seller all year long.
Yeah, I mean, some of those seasonality or some of those seasonal products, they can do really, really well, but it's disheartening when you have we have like a 2 or 3 month period where they sell well, and then you're kind of waiting the rest of the year to do business. I'm glad that's not the case here. Was there anything you learned in building this Amazon FBA business that just worked, that was really successful, that you think you can apply to future businesses you build?
Your product selection process in the beginning is a major component of your success or failure. And what a lot of people miss is, again, seasonality is an issue. Are you willing to accept that, or making sure that what you're choosing isn't that? Another is the depth of the market, because a lot of people will go out and evaluate a particular product in a catalog component within Amazon and say, ooh, this is great. But they find out that there's 3 top competitors and they suck all the demand, and there's nothing left for any other competitors to come in and compete on. And so that, along with pricing models, there are pricing models you have to consider, based on your sweet spot, based around cost of your product, shipping, your fees to Amazon, and so forth. And again, this gets into the business idea of you need to know what you're doing from pricing model perspective and profit, net profit, and gross profit. So.
Going back to niche selection, which I think is critical and a lot of people struggle with, right? And trying to find that niche. Did you use any software? Is there anything like what kind of metrics do you look for when you're selecting a niche?
There's a number of software programs that have been coming out that have made things much easier than when I even started just less than a year ago, which left you tooling around in the catalog, trying to find things out there and doing little tricks to understand what their demand was per day. Jungle Scout, for example, is a great tool that a lot of people utilize. It's a great starting point, but you shouldn't use that solely. You still need to do evaluations. There's other secondary tools out there. Camel is another example to check demand and longevity of a product, and also check if it's had bounces based off giveaways and BSR bumps that go on by way of its competitiveness within the Amazon catalog itself.
It's interesting, people starting out, there's niche selection is so important that they will look forever, right? They're taking weeks, they're taking months to kind of find the perfect niche. And, you and I both know that there isn't a perfect niche. I mean, if you find one that looks good, that kind of, has the right metrics, has the right kind of like forecasting, then you go for it. And if you screw it up, you screw it up, but you have to pick something and run with it, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And people can be in that analysis paralysis forever and not make anything happen. And there comes a point in time where you have to just say, I'm going to do it. And doing it means I'm not going to go out and buy 5,000 of some product. I mean, doing it could be I'm going to buy a small minimum quantity and test it, be smart about it, see if the demand exists and that kind of thing. And if it does, you might have a winner. You can ramp it from there. If it's not, great, you dump it, but you move on and keep trying.
Did you have any failures or setbacks with this business? Like, did you try a particular design or style and it just sold miserably? Or did you try any like advertising or marketing techniques that just didn't work?
All of the different products in my line have done very well except for two. And it was just people that didn't resonate with people, but it still sells. And that's the thing. It's not, quote, a failure. It just doesn't sell at the quantity levels as the others. So we continue to sell it. But no, I mean, everything has actually gone very well with this product line.
If you order like 500 of a particular style or whatever, and it's not selling that well, is it worth re-upping? I mean, even if it's sitting on the shelf, how do you make that determination?
It's pretty easy to do. It's pretty easy to determine once you get it in the catalog. You go through your promotion process. You go through some reviews. You send it through your own customer base, and you do all that kind of beforehand, but you can understand whether the demand exists for it or not within a few months. And what's nice in how we've tested these designs ourselves is if the demand isn't really there, well, we're not going to continue to buy it, and we'll just work our way through the inventory we have, and we'll then put new designs out there that we think are going to be winners, and we just continue to find and test until we find those winners, and those rise to the top, and we move forward.
All right, let's get into traffic channels, earnings, that kind of thing. Now, expenses over the last 3 months on average, $8,928. Is that all cost of goods? Is there some marketing spend in there? What's the deal with that?
The majority of that are Amazon expenses from fees paid to them. And so what you end up with is a expense model of about a third. A third of it is profit, a third of it is Amazon, a third of it is your own expenses and product costs that you deal with.
Okay, on average, let's talk about the actual product. I mean, how much with shipping are you paying per unit? And then how much are you selling for on Amazon? Give me a range.
So shipping per unit, so into Amazon, it costs me about $2 on my product. I sell product for around $13. Amazon fees are about $4.70 right in there.
Gotcha, okay. And how much inventory do you have in the business right now?
Yeah, so that's one thing I've tried to do is to keep a kind of a just-in-time or a lean inventory model. And again, that comes down to forecasting so that I'm not expending a lot of my profits or available cash on inventory sitting on shelves waiting to be sent into Amazon.
Yeah, we talked about this before we even got on, right? We were talking about some of the newer entrepreneurs, the people getting into Amazon FBA, and one of their problems is they're running out of inventory all the time. And so, they're constantly, complaining about not having inventory or waiting until they have more money or they sell out so they can get more money for inventory. And that just seems like a really bad idea. Like, you have to have inventory to keep the business going. Did you, with this business, I mean, yes, you could have been profitable on month 2, month 3, but were you basically just kind of like dumping money back into inventory to kind of scale it up?
I did. I would say the first 7, 8 months, I was dumping everything we received back, profits and everything back into the business to expand the product line. And the reason for that was I wanted to dominate. I wanted to maintain a presence. I wanted to push myself to page one, page two, page three on the whole product line. And then once you get to that position, then you can kind of dial it back a bit. You can begin reaping some of the profit rewards from this and then get into a routine of introducing new products gradually. So it was a big ramp up in the beginning.
I'm taking a look at the listing right now, and it looks like after November, December, January, February, profits were relatively stable. How are things looking for March?
Very stable, very stable. And that's one of the things we looked at is, of course, Q4 is always a huge ramp up for people. Really, everybody. Everybody gets a big halo effect from the Q4 buying season because of the holidays. And generally, right after the holidays in January, there's a little bit of a bump because people are expending gift cards and whatnot, but then it takes just a dive. And we just haven't even seen it. And so doing a regression analysis based on what we're seeing now on the number of products we have against what we had in June of last year, we're expecting we'll see a continuation of this. And like we've had it, I mean, there's really no seasonality to it. It's just something people buy all the time, and you get a great bump in Q4. Otherwise, it's very stable.
Awesome. Now I know most of your sales, huge majority of your sales are via Amazon FBA. Do you have
Correct.
any sales on your e-commerce store today?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we do. So we're on several secondary channels and also our main website, and we see sales on that every week on all
And
the channels.
the site, is it WordPress site? Is it Shopify?
Actually, it's Squarespace.
Squarespace. I hear their ads on the podcast all the time, but everyone I know is on Shopify. So it's shocking to me that it's like, hey, here's Squarespace ads. I'm like, who are their customers? Well, I found one. All right.
You
So
you found one.
how
And
do you like it?
I really like it. So I've done Shopify, I've done WordPress, and quite honestly, Shopify is almost too utilitarian. You can't get a real nice look out of it unless you put a lot of money into it for custom programming.
Yeah.
WordPress for me is there's just too much maintenance, too much issues of hijackers and those kinds of people coming into the back end and hacking into it. And Squarespace, all that is taken care of for you. It has a complete e-commerce component to it. They have beautiful templates. It's very refined. And it's a drag and drop template system so that you don't have to know how to program a site to go in and manage it.
How many SKUs do you have, and what do you do with the inventory that's sold via the website? How do you get that shipped?
Off of Amazon, do you mean?
No,
Or
on
on
the
Amazon?
e-commerce site.
Oh, off the e-commerce site. So we have 7 SKUs. We have 7 SKUs through 2 different product lines. And we maintain inventory, and as the orders come in, we ship them ourselves.
Okay. What are your margins on the e-commerce buys or through the site itself? Are they better? Or you're not paying the Amazon fees, obviously?
Oh, yeah, much better. Yeah, much better. It's about another 20% bump.
Awesome. Okay. And are you doing any paid traffic either on Amazon or to the e-commerce site that you own?
So first of all, with Amazon, yes, PPC exists on Amazon as well as it does in the public search world, and I have PPC that's always running. I've got it dialed in to where we're low to either single digits or low double digits, which is really good on Amazon. And I have a very, very low monthly payout that I have to do on that, but it keeps us where we need to be, and it keeps feeding that machine. On our public site, on our e-commerce site, I haven't done any real SEO work outside of just web or site optimization and that kind of thing. No Google advertising and whatnot, and that's where there's an opportunity. I mean, you really can go after this from a paid perspective on the search engines.
All right, so let's talk about those opportunities now. If you were going to keep this business, you weren't going to sell it, would you focus on kind of doubling down on Amazon FBA, or would you focus on expanding the e-commerce site? Like, where would you focus your efforts?
I would continue to slowly expand the presence in Amazon, meaning expanding the product line, making it more attractive, continue to cement the status that's there. But I would really put my efforts onto the non-Amazon sites. So secondary channels, Etsy, eBay, Living Social, Open Sky, all those other ones that are there, Rakuten, as well as your own e-commerce site, and really start driving traffic so that you're equalizing more your sales off of Amazon into your own site space. I mean, at that point, you're owning the customer. You're able to mitigate risk if anything happens or it goes wrong with Amazon. Anything can go wrong anywhere. And so this was just a way to mitigate risk and keep your business going.
Is there any opportunity to bump up your Amazon PPC spend, or have you basically optimized that and it's just running smoothly? That's about all you're going to get.
I've optimized it pretty well. There are more high-level keywords that we rank on, first page for that I don't have to pay for anymore. I mean, they're very expensive. And it's just a matter of optimizing keywords that you see coming through analysis and then adding those, testing those. And it's just like you do in a public domain. You just do it in the Amazon domain and just optimizing your payout rate and what your return is.
Let's talk about some of the risks with this business. Now, we looked at opportunities, we looked at how you would expand. One of the benefits here, I think, is that, you're not stuck with fickle Google, right? Who can adjust your rankings and significantly adjust your earnings because you're on the Amazon platform. But you're also tied to Amazon. So if Amazon decided to cancel your product line, now yours isn't terribly confusing or controversial or anything. I don't see any reason why they're going to cut yours out. But that's a possibility. It's also a possibility they could shut down your account for any number of reasons, right? You're always kind of at risk because you're on their platform. What risks do you see in this business, and do you think a buyer should be aware of?
When Amazon usually goes after people, it's because of dumb mistakes. Amazon is hyper-focused on customer service. And as long as you're always hyper-focused on serving their customers, and remember, they're not yours, they're theirs. But if you're serving their customers, with the products that you're providing, then you're going to be fine. And we have a great customer service model that we have in place. And we've always been able to deal very well with customers as they come through. Our accounts in great standing. And really, it comes down to dumb mistakes that people make. You avoid those dumb mistakes and you're monitoring and taking care of your account, you shouldn't have any problems on Amazon.
What do your reviews look like?
Our reviews are really good. Reviews are really good. And for those, again, from a customer perspective, if somebody's unhappy, well, you go in and you make them happy. And that's what you do. And there's two different aspects to Amazon. There's feedback and there's reviews. Feedback is what comes into you initially after a product ships. And there's specific criteria around what they can and can't include in that. Reviews themselves is what is seen publicly and appears on the product and usually helps drive people's decision when they purchase. And both of those are stellar.
Talk to me a little bit about the competition. Have you seen an uptick from competitors entering the exact space? Are there competitors that are doing better than you that you've been kind of trying to catch? How's that looking?
Interestingly enough, it is a menagerie of type products that exist in our space. And our particular offering is something that is in a kind of a category in of itself within this larger category of product offerings. And we are right at the top of that. I mean, we own it, and we really don't have a lot of people coming into it. It's one of those, like I said, it's a sleepy part of the catalog that people are like, are you kidding me? When you tell them what you're selling. But it sells. It sells well, and people like it. And because of that, it's very stable, and it keeps folks away that want to try and compete.
One of the things I really like about your business is just in talking to you and looking at the listing and looking at some of our emails back and forth with our team, I can tell you're a guy who keeps his ducks in a row. So I know that I'm buying a business that is well managed, right? I mean, we talked about you managing your inventory, and you've always been really good with that. You've got the trademark on the business. You've taken care of multiple steps that, quite frankly, we don't see with a lot of other sellers. In fact, a lot of times we're having to explain to them what they need to put together to get their business sold. So I think buyers going to have that advantage in working with you. Talking about the work, can you tell me a little bit about the type of work you have to do on kind of a daily, weekly, and monthly basis to maintain this business?
Sure. So it's very minimal overall. I mean, when we talk about the effort people have to put into businesses, it's very minimal. So from a monthly perspective, you're just managing your inventory forecasting, and that's really not a hard thing to do. And from there, you manage the inventory supply requests from the supplier, packaging inventory, sending it in usually once or twice a month. And these are all things that anybody can further automate. So it's not something you have to do. You can continue to automate this further and even recapture more of your time for yourself. And on a weekly basis, you'd want to monitor the PPC on Amazon, make any adjustments there as necessary. On a daily basis, monitor the account, the Amazon account, make sure you're checking sales volumes, your listing reviews, the account health. If any questions from customers come in, you feel that. And if you have product that comes in from other channels and you've decided to ship that yourself, I mean, that's really a total of 10 minutes a day at most.
So 10 minutes a day at most, but there are some days where you're putting in, or you want to check other things, you want to kind of deep dive into it. I mean, an hour to 2 hours a day would be completely fine, right, to run this business?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And what I talked about is specifically around Amazon. It's kind of humming along in its own thing, and that kind of leaves you to come back and do all the other expansive opportunities you can do on the e-commerce site itself, and expanding the other channels.
What I find with a lot of new buyers is that, we say, oh, it'll take you about an hour a day. And in actual work, that is true. But when they buy this new business, they're constantly checking the stats on their phone. So like when you take it over, you're probably going to get sucked into this trap of always checking updates and checking your stats. And then over time, you start to settle in and go, okay, same as it was yesterday. I can probably skip it today, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is a seller app that comes from Amazon you can install, hook up to your account, and you can refresh that thing constantly, and it will show you the new sales, and it just keeps ticking up during the day. It becomes an addictive thing. And so, as you become comfortable with it and understand the sequence of how sales work, and certain days are higher than others, and you'll see that trend as it goes along, you'll get into the groove of it and become more comfortable with it. But it's exciting, and that's the thing about it, is it's truly exciting and fun to see.
I don't think that someone requires like a ton of knowledge. They don't have to be FBA experts to take over this business. They don't have to be, SEO experts to run the e-commerce side of the business. But there are some kind of basic skills or requirements that would probably be required for someone to buy this. What do you think those are?
And you're right. There isn't a lot of extensive knowledge required. A lot of it is common sense. And are you a customer-focused type individual? Do you have excitement over wanting to introduce new products and see new opportunities and growth come through? You have to be somewhat detail-oriented. You do have to monitor the metrics that come through and making sure that you're in balance. But again, a lot of it's just common sense. And if you have the desire, you certainly can learn this very easily.
One of the questions I would have as a buyer is I'd want to know how much support you're going to offer me in terms of a turnover. So on the listing, it says you're offering 30 days of email support and 2 hours of phone call support within the first 30 days. So if I said, hey, look, are you serious about that? Can I actually email you questions and kind of get up to speed? Your answer would be yes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, again, my whole intent was to set this up to be a real nice package to just hand to somebody. And I did that because I'm not out to dump and run. I'm here to try and help somebody be successful. And so, yeah, I'll be happy to answer questions and get them on their way.
Awesome, Mark. The other thing I'd want to know as a buyer is, you said you plan to continue with some Amazon FBA businesses. What I don't want you to do is I don't want to buy the business from you and then 3 weeks later you're competing with me in the same niche. Would you be willing to sign a non-compete that you're not going to compete with me on these same products in the same industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, having started and sold lots of businesses, I think that's just part of the honorable side of when you're transferring a business. You don't do that.
Cool. And then another question I'd have is, obviously, Mark, for you and for us, Empire Flippers, we would love to give you a 100% cash straight up offer. Sometimes that's a little different. So, for example, if someone came to you and said, look, I want to do 80% up front and I want to do the additional 20% at the end of 30 days. Like, look, I'll pay Empire Flippers up front, but I want you paid out at the end of 30 days after training. Or if they said, look, I'll do 60% up front, I want to pay 40% over the next 12 months. Considering an earnout or a paid after training situation, is that something you'd be open to?
Paid after training, that kind of thing. Let's just see what comes through, and we can evaluate it as it's presented.
Cool. So you're open to the offers, but we'll have to see what comes through, see what kind of offers come in. If they're competing with someone else who's all cash up front, yeah, well, good luck.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, man. So let's do a quick wrap up on this business. Again, it's in the health niche. This is an Amazon FBA business. It was built in June 2015. The monthly revenue on this is $15,589 a month on a 3-month average. Expenses are just under $9,000. Net profit $6,600 a month. Again, that's a 3-month average. This includes the Amazon account, the brand trademark, images and listing, a supplier communication, e-commerce site, social media, and the registered customer list. So again, really quick, the registered customer list, how many customers are there?
So we have almost 300, and that includes folks who have bought off of Amazon that have come and registered for our warranty, which we have. So we've been able to capture their emails that way, as well as all those who have bought off our secondary channels and our e-commerce site.
Awesome, Mark. Now, if you could give me in the next 30 seconds or so, what's your best pitch on why someone should purchase this business?
I've mentioned it a couple times. Best pitch is it is a complete package business in an e-commerce space that emphasizes all the benefits you get from Amazon FBA while providing you a secondary channel you can grow and develop on your own.
Awesome, Mark. For anyone listening to this or watching this on YouTube or wherever else you might be, if you look in the show notes, there'll be a link. You can click to that. It'll take you over to the listing page on empireflippers.com. Again, the listing on this is 40460. You can get more information about this. If you're interested and you want all the details, including the niche, you want to talk to Mark about it, you want to start your due diligence, you can pay a refundable deposit. There's a link on the top right-hand corner of the listing page. Pay that deposit, and then we're going to get you in contact with Mark, and you can start looking to purchase this business. Again, man, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, Justin. Thank you so much.